Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. It's SuperBT 2027, and in today's video I'll be explaining how I design LEGO engines and gearboxes, because I know some of you may not completely understand. So anyway, let's get started. So we'll be starting with the clutch, and a clutch is just a way to disengage the engine from the gearbox. Because when you're shifting gears, you want to have the least amount of stress on the gearbox as possible. Because usually there's going to be there's going to be two gears touching at once while you're shifting, and that could strip the gears if you put too much stress on them. So right now you can see the little gray gear and the big gray gear are touching, and those are the only gears that are touching. But when we start to shift into second, which is the little black and the yellow, you can see that these two gears are touching, the little gray gear to the big gray and the little black to the big yellow, and that can cause a tiny amount of stress on the gears. But if it becomes too much, then that's enough to strip them, and we don't want that. So that's what the clutch is for. But as you can see, the clutch is it's a little different than most clutches, because most clutches use friction to engage to the gears, but this is just like a lever basically. This black part is where the engine spins. So the engine goes in here. If I spin this, you can see that the black part spins the gears. But if I press the clutch, in and I spin it, then the gears don't spin. Okay? But the main question is, how do we design the clutch? So I have two gears right here, and right now this back gear is touching the input gear, but when I push this lever forward, it makes it to where the front gear is touching. Okay? And these gears, you do want them to be rounded so that it's really easy to slide them. And also, I built a little mechanism with this U-joint here so that it's easy to just slide them back and forth. And then I think somewhere in here, this little lever right here can move up and down a little bit, like it's not stuck in place. So that makes it to where you can, if you really wanted to, you could slide this lever back a whole lot, but I just made it to where it only moves one stud. But anyway, I also put a rubber band here on the lever so that it goes back in place, because we want our clutch to only go back when we press it, and when we're not pressing it, it goes forward again. Okay? But I think I would want to try to figure out a friction clutch at some point, because this clutch makes it hard to engage sometimes. Like if sometimes when I'm in fourth gear, this one all the way down here, it's a pretty big what is it called, gear ratio. It's a pretty big gear ratio, because you have this big gear here going into the black gear, and then this big gear again going into the black gear. So sometimes that makes it harder for even my inline 2 to spin this. I only get it every so often. So that's where a friction clutch would come in handy. But sometimes this clutch here, I think it's called a dog clutch, because it's just not smooth, like dogging it, I guess. I don't really know. This isn't my design, by the way. This design I saw on AC Tippett's channel. You guys should go check him out. He also makes LEGO videos. But anyway, yeah. So this is a dog clutch. Okay. So now I'll be explaining to y'all how I make engines. Alright guys, so this is my inline 2 engine. As you can tell, has two pistons. They're 180 degrees apart from each other, and I did end up having to super glue most of the parts on this engine, so I can't really take it apart. Like, I think I super glued some of the pieces, like the engine head and stuff like that, because they kept rattling and coming apart. So I ended up having to super glue them. So I won't be able to take this engine apart, I don't think, but I can try and explain some of the stuff. So in Lego engines, you don't get much power. The biggest thing you want to worry about on Lego engines is friction, because the vacuum can only create so much power, and you want to try and avoid as much friction as possible. So with an inline 2, that makes it to where it's relatively easy to get consistent power, because with a 1-cylinder engine, you do get more speed, but it's less consistent because you're only getting power half of the time. With this engine, because they're 180 degrees apart from each other, that means that, so when the piston goes up, that's when the power comes in from the vacuum. It's basically like two single piston engines, but it gets power all of the time because they're 180 degrees apart from each other. And also, you guys might be wondering why or how the valve configuration works. Basically, so this piston is down all the way, right? But if you look here, this is when the valve is all the way down, okay? And at this point, the piston still has some time to go down. But when the valve starts to come up, that's when the piston is all the way at the bottom. Because you want max power when the piston is at the bottom, because then you can get max leverage right here, see? Because if you had the piston and the valve at the same timing, then you wouldn't get much power and it wouldn't be very efficient, okay? So that's that. This is my throttle body right here. As you can see, there are 2 points where it's connected. One on the throttle by itself, and then one on the lever. And they're connected by this 3-hole Technic beam, okay? And the vacuum, it tries to shut the throttle body by itself with all of the air coming through. So if you have it all the way open, it'll just shut all the way if you let go of it, okay? So when you open it all the way, obviously you get more power because of more airflow, but when it's closed, you get minimal power, and you want to have a tiny amount of air going through still, because you want the engine to be able to idle, okay? And then also for the flywheel, I just made, I think I can take this off. Alright, so for the flywheel, I have these 2 pieces here. This piece is really not that heavy, maybe 50 grams or so. I haven't measured it, but I mean, it's really easy to pick up and move. This piece here's about the same weight, but it's specifically for RPM. So sometimes I move it if I make different engines, and yeah. So this combined is maybe 150 grams, I don't know. But yeah, that's how I design engines and gearboxes, so hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah.